Good afternoon, Perry.
Yeah, good afternoon, Francisque. Good afternoon, Judy, and hey, Joseph.
Hello, Perry. How are you?
Perry.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. What
Thank you
time
very
of the
much.
day is it over there?
Very good. So we'll leave you in the hands of Joe.
Super.
Excellent. Thank you, Perry. First of all, between you and I'm like doing a tour of the world. We're in Australia, we're in Italy, we're in the UK. It's amazing to see how many passionate motorsports and automotive themed brands there are out there. Today, I hear we're going to be talking about, innovation. Where does it come from? It's applied to, wastegates, blow-off valves, turbocharging, boost. I think that is really interesting. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's learn a little bit about what you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was listening to Agu speak, just a few minutes ago, and he highlighted a big point. And he said the secret to everything he does is passion. And I think that's true in any creative industry, anything where there's competition. Without passion, you achieve nothing. And it's fantastic listening to him, because you say you've been all over the world in the last few minutes. How's the jet lag, by the way?
I feel great.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant. So the point is, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, the passion is the same. The language might be different, but the passion to win, to succeed, that is the same. And that's just absolutely awesome. So you're right. I'm going to talk about, Wastegates, where innovation comes from, what drives us. So I'm going to share a screen. Hopefully it all works. Can you see that?
It's coming online. Yes, I can see it, yes. Perry. Go ahead, proceed.
All right. So innovation, where does it come from? We're human beings. We're thinking all the time. We're trying new ideas. So I'm going to start with 3 quotes. The one is, quality drives everything we do, as does winning. That at DSPS, that's what drives us, without a doubt. I've had a few of these webinars, and I keep on going on about quality, and that's the secret to everything. The other thing is, every day is a school day. Every single day we learn something new. So it's a bit weird. I mean, sometimes we learn more from our kids than we teach them, but that's, that's life. And the other thing is, never underestimate the marginal gain. Sometimes the biggest advances we make come from the smallest changes. And that's so important in racing. I mean, how many times is a race won by a 100th of a second or 1,000th? So just bear those in mind as we go through this. There's three W's, the big questions. Where does it come from? Where does innovation come from? Why do we even need to innovate? And what drives us? And the answers are quite simple. The innovation comes from you, the competitor. It comes from looking at the guys we're competing against from a business point of view. And it comes from us. So innovation comes from anywhere. Steve Jobs, late Steve Jobs, was amazing at this. He would pull inspiration from all sorts of different places. So, I'm happy. I'm not shy. I'll take innovation and inspiration from anyone. So why do we innovate? That's really simple. To keep winning. That's what we're in this business for. And what drives us? The will to win. So I guess the reason to innovate and what drives us are much the same thing. What is really interesting is, when I look back on some of the previous webinars, what we did, what was the future in 2020 is now in the past. So we spoke about an electronic wastegate. We spoke about a water-cooled wastegate and, larger anti-lag valves. Usual thing, faster, cooler, less mass. Anyway, they've all come to fruition now. And that's really cool. Last year, we talked about smaller wastegates, make them lighter, make them able to sustain higher temperatures, because that's the enemy of everything in racing. And then, electronic wastegate, that keeps on coming back. Now, all of these things are now a reality. We spoke about coatings and insulation. There've been huge innovation in that recently. The hotter we can keep things, the greater the efficiency, the more we can protect sensitive parts in the engine bay. So these are all innovations that have been driven by the competitor and competition. The advances are obvious. You know, you look at a water-cooled wastegate, it's obvious what you've done. You look at a large anti-lag valve, it's obvious. And these all give performance. And, you know, when you walk around the paddock or the pits and you look at what everyone else is doing, because that's what we do, it's easy to see where those advances come from. But the secret is we're all making these changes all the time. So we had a big conversation amongst ourselves, and the question was, where do the changes come from? Where is the performance that you don't see? You know, when you look at the guys and they eke a little bit further out, or the wastegate lasts a little bit longer, is able to sustain higher temperature, where does that come from? Because we're all trying the same things that you can see, but it's the bits that you don't see. So we're going to give a little bit of a case study. And we thought long and hard about this, because we're talking about the things inside our wastegates, the things that you don't see. But I think it's important that we share some of these small advances. And, you know, I'm happy if someone wants to go out and copy, that's fine, because imitation is the sincerest form of flattery at the end of the day. So we'll start with, do you remember marginal gains? I spoke about them at the beginning. Well, every small improvement makes a difference. And if you've got a lot of these small improvements, the whole is always greater than the sum of the parts. So it's like a cumulative effect. So what you can see here is the inside of one of our most popular wastegates, DW1 wastegate. This was introduced in 1981. It's been steadily improved over the years. It's won the Indy 500. It's won Le Mans. It's won Super GT Championship in various guises. So you name it, this wastegate has been there and done it. And the components are the same. You talk to any wastegate manufacturer in the world, there's going to be a spring, there's going to be a diaphragm or a membrane, there's going to be a casting, you call it a body, and, you know, some form of heat dissipation. That's a given. We've all got them. So what can we improve? I mean, there's a spring, right? I mean, springs are springs. And I disagree completely. Springs are not springs. What we've started doing in order to get really high mileage, and funnily enough, this is Formula One that's driven us this way. I mean, a standard Le Mans weekend, you cover 6,000 kilometers, say 4,000 miles. And our wastegates had to be able to survive that. Formula One is now stipulating 3 engines for a season. So you're looking at 8,000 to 10,000 kilometers per engine, which is competition kilometers. That's pretty rough. And we found in order to get our springs to survive, we had to make small changes. We shot P in the springs. Is that a term you're familiar with? You are? Okay, that's cool. I just wanted to be sure that you didn't have a different term in the US for that. And we've also, rounded the ends. So everything moves smoothly. There's no binding. These are, once again, tiny changes, but the repercussions are huge. Our membrane, once again, the particular membrane, the design has been around since 1985. How do you improve something that's been around that long? Actually, it's quite easy. We work with a company in the States called Diacom. They make all of our membranes. And, temperature capability. Once again, these are changes driven by our customers. One of our customers was competing in the Dakar series, and the temperatures, under heat soak, were approaching sort of 300 degrees centigrade. And I mean, we had Viton membranes, which were only capable of 270. So we've pushed, temperature capability has gone up. Another customer, a US-based customer, is driving, wastegates at higher and higher pressures. Once upon a time, you used to run a wastegate at 15, 20 PSI. Now, we're seeing numbers as high as 60, 65 PSI. And we had to change the membranes to withstand, the pressures. So these are changes which are driven by our customers. We give them the tools And like any good racer, they're going to try and use it to its absolute, maximum. And eventually you get a phone call saying it's broken. So when it's broken, you try and fix it. So these have been the biggest improvements this year, to be fair, is in the membrane. It's probably the cheapest component in the assembly, but if it fails, you stop, instantly. So it's vitally important. The valve guide, once again, this element right there, that's been a sintered material for as long as I can remember. Once again, 1985. Why would we change that? Because of its manufacturing process, it's got quite high clearance between the valve stem and the valve guide. Then we noticed, once again, the improvement came from Formula One, where we were trying to get things to last longer and longer. And we changed the material. We changed the material from a sintered material to a Colsobro. It's a brass-based copper, very, very tough material, and that would last far, far longer. It had another benefit, which we weren't aware of at the time. Because it's so tough, we could have a much, much tighter tolerance. We could manufacture to tighter tolerances. So there was less leakage between the valve stem and the valve guide. All of this improved performance in a way that we weren't even anticipating. So that was just win-win. And then the casting, as I say, that's been much the same. The biggest changes have been in heat or ceramic coatings and insulation. So these are small changes. You don't see any of these, but the performance benefits and the impact is huge. And it all comes from, it adds to reliability, adds to performance, ultimately happier customers. And I have to be honest, the overall impact on the cost of the product hasn't been as large as we were afraid it might be, especially in this, day and age. So that's some of the, biggest changes recently. I think in the past we've spoken about product features, and I've been talking about things we change, but sometimes there are things that you don't change. We never want to change. For one, we never compromise on quality. Never ever going to change that. All of our wastegates have Inconel castings. Once upon a time, they were stainless steel as well, but as temperatures went up, we were seeing failures, and that just wasn't acceptable to us. So every single wastegate we make has got an Inconel can now. All the valves are forged with mnemonic 80. Once again, I've mentioned the membrane, which is high temperature and reinforced. All of our components, which are machined from billet material, and everything is full traceability right down to when it came out of the ground. And if you call me, in 10 years' time and say you bought one of our wastegates, and you can see there's a serial number on the top, every single wastegate has its own serial number. I can tell you, Joseph, who made that wastegate, when they made it, and when it was dispatched. So, these are small things, and when there's never a problem, it doesn't really make much difference. But when you have a problem, it's great when you can trace its history all the way back. And then all of our components, we use a lot of aerospace practices. Most of our guys have been trained as aerospace engineers, designers, worked on aircraft, in our case, the Royal Air Force. So, yeah, that's just, I hope we practice what we preach, because that would be, terrible if we didn't. And then, winning ways. The last time I did this webinar, all of the ones at the top, the first guys in this list, they were there. But F1 we hadn't yet succeeded in. Now I'm glad to say we've got 2021 and 2022 World Championships. So, and it's not that F1 is better than anything else. I'm equally proud of every single championship, because the level of competition in all of these forms of racing is phenomenally high. Everyone's there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to win. So yeah, I'm proud of everything we achieve. And that's kind of me, you know, these are the small innovations we make. I don't know if I can, you know, help you with anything else at the moment.
Well, I think that speaks for itself. Those Formula One World Championships, those of us who pay attention, and we all do, I think, know what kind of, you know, you cannot have failures. An entire season can go up in smoke due to a failure. And so I think that speaks volumes. Perry, what about the price of quality, though? If you're gonna, you know, have something that is innovative, to me, it is worth it. But speak a little bit on that.
Well, that's a tough one, really, because it's the price of failure. You know, when you fail, or when your car fails, or an engine fails, or whatever, it's the competitor is obviously disappointed. I'm being polite, but it's not just the competitor; it's the team, it's the sponsors, it's all the support crew, it's everyone. Now, sometimes failure is unavoidable. If you have an accident or a crash, that these things happen in racing. But, you know, if you compromise on quality on the basic parts, as I mentioned, the membrane, it's not an expensive component, but if it fails, you stop. So there's some, yeah, the price of failure or the price of quality, it's not just the cost of the component that fails. It's, I mean, how many millions have you spent to get there that weekend? You know, and we learned this lesson the hard way. It's the one failure I'm not proud of, but it's the start. It was the start of DSPS and our obsession with quality. We did some Wastegates in 1985 for all of the Indy cars, or most of them. And we got the membrane wrong. And during practice, most cars stopped. To say it was terrible would be an understatement. But ever since that day, that's what led to our obsession with quality. So when things happen, you know, when things fail, the price of quality, it's everything, isn't it, Joseph? It's the team, it's the sponsors, it's your reputation. It's, oh man, there's almost no price that you can put on it. So we all make mistakes. We're human. It's when you think, no, I'm not going to spend that extra $10. And I know some people, you know, it's difficult. Agu mentioned that as well. Then you have to try and design in such a way that you don't want to compromise on quality, but you have to be cost sensitive as well. Because, you know, just as we supply professional teams, as in, you know, mass manufacturers, OEMs, we also supply privateers, guys going racing, you know, on the weekend. And that's, you know, that's their hobby. They want to do well, and we want them to be able to race. So we try and make our products as bulletproof as possible. As I mentioned, that's why castings are Inconel, valves are good quality, and our products aren't inexpensive, unfortunately. But I'm pretty happy that you buy one and you'll be using the same wastegate at the end of the season as you started with. So our aim is that every wastegate will complete a season, at least. And you can rebuild them. You know, you don't have to get a new one the following season. We have service kits, and they're quite easy to service.
Excellent. Excellent. Here's a question coming in from Stephen. Do you miss the good old days when your product was prominently visible, sticking out of the top of 33 engine covers, whizzing around the brickyard? Kind of a fun question.
Do I miss the days? Oh man, now you're putting an age on me.
That was Stephen.
Yes. Okay. All right, Stephen. Yeah, I kind of miss those days, but I also look forward to all the coming days. I mean, you've probably seen the packaging on today's cars. I mean, Indy cars are insane when you look under the, you know, the engine cover. F1 cars are crazy. I think everything is crazy because aerodynamics has become so important, and heat management has become so important as a result of the packaging. So yeah, I do miss the old days, but I think we all do, don't we? Because we all look at them through rose-tinted spectacles.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of getting older, but it is part of it. Hey, Perry, let's give the vitals in terms of, and certainly if people have other questions, put them up in the chat section. We're running towards the final minutes of this webinar. But where and how, right? If they want to reach out to you, if they want to advance some design, if they have a question, what is the appropriate way to get connected with you and learn more about DSPS?
Okay. Our website is, our web address is on the screen there. You can't see that now, can you?
I can, yes.
Oh, you can. Cool.
Yes.
Right. DSPS.technology. And if you want to send me an email, it's Perry, Perry, at DSPS.technology. Have a look on our website and drop me a line, and we'll get right back to you.
Excellent. What I was impressed by, and I love this, it's the racer mentality, that you are intrigued and motivated by the competition, right? To make it whatever it is, and in this case it's Wastegates, but to make it better. That's the way to do it. You're not going to like stay with what you've got, although some might choose to do that at some point. The reason that you avoid the status quo is because there is competition, and that's what causes progress in everything that we see in motorsport.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that old adage, isn't it? If you're standing still, you're going backwards. So, we try, and every now and then we do make mistakes because, once again, you try some things and some things don't work. But, and it's almost out of respect for just as, we are driven by our competitors and the people who use our products. I hope they too are driven by what we bring, and that spurs ongoing competition. And let's be honest, perfection is, you'll never achieve perfection. We try, but we'll never get there. And I hope we never do, because if you achieve something that's perfect, well, what happens then? Time to put the pencil away and, shut up shop. And I have no intention of doing that anytime soon.
No, that is excellent. And I appreciate it. Learned a lot, Perry. Thank you very much. I see Fred Seisk and Judy are coming on board. But I think you and Agu as well really drove home the what's behind all of this, which is the passion for motorsports, competition, to be driven by yourself and driven by others to make something as good as it can possibly be. So thank you.
Thank you. That's my pleasure.
Well, thank you very much, Perry. Thank you for your support. We just pushed DSPS products back on the homepage of the ePowerTrade platform. I had the privilege to know Perry for many, many years. Is what this industry is about. He's a racer, he's an entrepreneur, an innovator, and a little genius. Let's say it, and now you are. So thank you very much for a great presentation today. Thank you for your support. Wishing you the absolute very best, and I hope to see you very soon as well.
Registering on ePowerTrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to ePowerTrade.